All right, so now we are moving on to episode 3 of the Detail Vice Bootcamp. If you guys joined me for the first and the second episode, we covered how to get your branding down, your pricing, your packages, your payment processors. In the second video, we covered how to set up your website, do some basic SEO work, and then how to set up your Google business profile and your booking page as well. So hopefully it's been super valuable for all you guys watching, trying to make it as in-depth and as valuable as possible for all these videos. So I think they've been quite good. I did notice that the first video had over 200 views, which is pretty well for a channel. Then the second video had like 25% of that. I don't know what the fuck happened there. I guess you guys just don't like money. You guys like giving up on something so simple and so easy. I'm literally giving it all to you for free in these videos, but I guess you guys can't just watch down and watch a fucking video for 10 minutes. But for those of you that are sticking around and watching these videos, you guys are obviously getting a ton of value here for free. So make sure to stay tuned. In this video, we're going to be covering the most important part, which is actually getting business in the door, all for free, by the way. None of these methods are paid methods. Okay. So they're not Google ads. They're not Meta ads, none of that stuff. These are all things that I did in the beginning of my business journey to get clients, because when I started, all I had money for essentially was pretty much my setup and, you know, some basic marketing like business cards, flyers, stuff like that. I didn't have money to throw at ads every single day. So this is what I had to do to really get my business off the ground. So I'm going to be covering all those methods now. Alrighty boys, so like I mentioned, you do not need to run ads off the get-go. All you need to know is where your ideal clientele is showing up, whether that's in person or online. And the second thing you need to know is how to show up in those places with perceived trust, value, and proof. So I'm going to be giving you the exact outreach methods, referral strategies with in-person businesses, and then the exact social media plays that I use that have booked me hundreds and hundreds of cars. Okay, I mentioned this before, but the biggest problem you have when you're starting from nothing, ground zero, is that you lack trust completely. No one trusts you at all. No one knows you. No one has seen you shown up before. No one knows what your work looks like. No one knows what your clients look like. It's hard to build trust from the beginning, right? So the best way to do this, hands down, is to do it through another source. More specifically, what I'm talking about is other businesses or communities. The number one type of business, I guess you could say you would focus on, is going to be the automotive industry, right? When people are showing up in dealerships, mechanics, auto body shops, what are they thinking of? Their car, obviously. So it's the perfect opportunity for you to go in, create a relationship with those businesses. That way they feel incentivized to refer their clients to your business. And it's a super simple process to do this. All I would do with all my extra time throughout the day, nonstop, is I'd walk into these businesses. I'd either ask to speak to an owner if they're available, usually they're not, or one of the higher up managers. And I wouldn't go in there to pitch them right off the bat. My whole goal was just to create a relationship with these people. So rather than walking in there and just pitching them some type of referral service right off the bat, I'd walk in, I'd introduce myself, tell them about my business, why I started up, how long I've been doing it, what I believe in, all that sort of stuff, so they kind of get to know me better. And then more importantly, I'd ask them about themselves and the business they work for or own, right? If they're the owner. And then at the very end, once that trust was established between me and them, I would then ask them for a simple favor. I'd ask them, how often are people walking in and asking about detailing? In most cases, is a pretty common thing, right? So I then ask if they'd be willing to refer my business to any of those people asking about those services. And 9 times out of 10, they'd always say yes. The only time I ever got to know in a business is if the business themselves offered some type of detailing services, because then it'd be taking money out of their pockets. And I know the first thing all you guys are thinking, because you guys are pessimistic and don't think positive, is that why would a business just be willing to do that for free? Here's a concept that you guys need to understand. It's a concept that I didn't understand until I started going out and doing this and talking to more businesses, but strangers care. Okay, I know that sounds weird. You guys might not think about it because of past experiences, whatever you might think. People are more than happy to help a new business out, especially if you're a young guy out there trying to build something for themselves. You know, business owners, managers, they always see themselves at one point in you when you're walking in the business and trying to pitch your services. People are more than happy to help you guys out. You just got to be willing to go out there and get it. Okay, so that's number one. But here's the thing, you could do this same exact method in so many other businesses. Your exact ideal clientele, people who have nice cars, care about their cars, care about their appearances, typically have money. Guess what? They don't just shop at dealerships, mechanics, and auto body shops, right? You could think of more places like barber shops, salons, real estate agent offices. There are literally so many businesses that you could replicate this same exact channel with. And the approach is the exact same. Of course, in a salon, whatever, you know, these types of businesses, people probably aren't going to be asking about detailing as much. But what you could do is just leave a nice stack of cards. You could even get one of those plastic flyer holders that stand up real nice and ask these people to put them on their front desk. That way you're actually inviting people to take your card, your flyer, whatever it might be. Okay, and another trick you could do when you're working with these businesses to get referrals is you could do custom offers for each and every one of these businesses. businesses. It is a bit more tedious, but your response rate is going to be way better. I'll give you an example real quick. Say you're working with a BMW dealership in your city. You can make custom and the local BMW dealership logo on there, and then you can put 10% off for customers coming from BMW for their first service. Okay, just something super simple, but it's going to incentivize those people, and they're going to feel special, you know, feeling like they're part of something coming from that dealership to your business. Okay, so that's another thing you guys could do to get a better response rate from this method. Okay, now the second and only other thing I'd recommend spending your time with when it comes to in-person outreach is approaching retirement communities and HOA communities. Every single one of these communities have some type of newsletter for all of their residents. Now, if you could get your business in those newsletters, that's a gold mine, okay? No detailers out there are thinking of this method. I just found this method completely randomly, okay? I was doing a detail in a 55+ community in my city. The resident that I was doing the detail for mentioned to me that they have a monthly newsletter that goes out to all their residents, and it's basically just a bunch of businesses in there advertising their services, their product, whatever it might be. She gave me the contact to the lady that runs it, and then boom, the next month I had an ad in there. Guys, that newsletter alone, the full year I ran it, probably made me close to 50K in revenue. So I recommend to you guys is just make a list of all the communities in your city, find their number, and just call them up and simply ask them if they run a newsletter. Okay, it's either a yes or no. So it's super simple. You're not selling them anything. You're not pitching them anything. You're just finding out whether or not they offer that. And then you might be wondering about price. Obviously, it's going to vary, but the one that I was in, and I have put ads in a few different communities, but they typically range from $50 to $100 on the high end per month, which in the grand scheme is super, super cheap. Okay. Okay, if you do one $250 detail, you're making a 5x obviously on your money. Highly worth it if you guys could get into those. Cool, so those are gonna be your two in-person outreach methods. Now we're gonna be moving on to your online or digital outreach channels. You're gonna wanna start with the usual. I know you guys have heard this all before. A lot of you have probably done this as well, but you're gonna want to post in Facebook groups and Nextdoor groups consistently. The type of group is what really matters. A lot of you guys think of, you know, either posting in like Facebook Marketplace, cars for sale, car groups, stuff like that. Yeah, sure. Those are good, but that's the typical, okay? Everyone in those groups have seen posts about details before. You want to think outside of the box. Again, where your ideal client is showing up outside of the automotive industry, of course. Let me give you like a random one that I can think of off of my head that worked really, really well in my market. And that was a wine tasting Facebook group. I don't know how I found it or why that came about, but I just remember I found it. It was Wine Tasters of New Mexico. I just posted a simple ad in there, right? It was like a picture. And it wasn't like a typical ad like, here's my detailing business, here's a package, buy from me. Okay, it was more like a story about me, why I started my business, how old I was at the time, stuff like that. So people felt like they were buying from a person and not being sold to by a business, okay? Other types of groups that you could think of are golfing groups, tennis groups. There's a lot of groups for restaurants, stuff like that. You guys wanna think outside the box. Where is my ICP showing up on a consistent basis? And then the next thing is Nextdoor. I know most of you guys have heard of this. If you have posted on here, you're probably doing it in the most generic way possible. Just going in there, making an ad, throwing up some decent pictures, talking about your packages, whatever it may be, okay? The game with Nextdoor is not for you to post to get business. Of course, you want to post to have like an established account, right? But the game with Nextdoor is having other people post about your business in their neighborhoods. Okay, so get as many people as possible. You know, you could do past clients if you have some. You could do family, friends. Get as many people in different parts of your city to post in their neighborhood. Okay, you want it coming from someone who actually lives in there that can essentially refer you to their neighborhood. That's hands down the best way to get the best results on Nextdoor. And then also having reviews on there as well. Not many people talk about that. Obviously, you guys want to prioritize Google reviews, but if you have the opportunity to get maybe an extra review, make sure it's on Nextdoor because they actually mean something on there. That's a big indicator people look at. Now I want to talk about 3 digital channels that I really see no one talk about in detailing or marketing for businesses in general. Okay, so there's a website called patch.com. And the best way to think about it is like a website for local news and like community posting, stuff like that. And what you could do is you could go onto this website and submit story-like posts, you know, like local business stories, events, and it's pretty much broken up into zip codes. So it's perfect. You could target the most ideal zip codes in your area that you would like to be working in. And the thing is, people look at it as like a news source. It's not just social media where there's a bunch of random bullshit popping up on your feed all day. It's like established stuff, you know, you only go there to find out stuff about your community, your city, stuff like that. So for each and every one of you, just go on to patch.com, go and make a free account and begin posting about your business. Okay, the next thing is a website called Alignable. Now the best way to think about this is like LinkedIn, right? We all know LinkedIn, but it's specifically for small business owners. It's basically like a big referral website. A bunch of small businesses gather here to refer one another. Pretty simple. So again, there's specific communities in each zip code. So you could go in here, create an account for your business, start posting, start interacting with other business owners, and of course, pitching your services. Again, the best way to approach these types of websites, these type of platforms, is not just to go in here and solicit like crazy, spamming your packages, spamming your offers. The best way to do it is to create a story, essentially create a brand around yourself and your business and show people that you're a real person. Okay, and then finally, the last thing is Reddit. I haven't heard a single person talking about using Reddit to promote your business. Pretty simple, okay? A lot of people surprisingly ask about detailing on Reddit, especially if you're in a bigger city, right, where more people are using it. And the way you find these questions, giving you the opportunity to respond to them, educating people about your services and your business, is just by simply going into the big pages for your city, which is typically just like r/Portland, for example, or r/Miami. And then you could go into the group in search of keywords, okay? So obviously you look up detailing, stuff like that. And people are gonna be asking questions in this Reddit group about detailing in general. Like, how much is detailing in Miami? What's a quality detailer to go to in Miami? You know, these type of questions that they're looking for from other people in the city. So what you could do is go in here, not as your business, but come in from a personal account as if you're a member of the community, and then refer people to your business. So not only does this help from that alone, getting people from Reddit, but another thing it's going to do simultaneously is help with your SEO ranking. A good method is to not only respond with, you know, an explanation about your business, the name of your business, but also respond with your website link, because this is going to count as a backlink. We talked about this in the last episode, but it's going to boost your domain rating, so helping you rank on Google, of course. So those are pretty much the 3 places you guys are going to want to be showing up when it comes to a digital footprint. This is excluding social media. We're going to get into that next. So make an account on patch.com, make an account on Alignable, post on those 2 consistently and build up your presence there. And then Reddit is pretty self-explanatory, right? You're just responding to people's questions about detailing in your market. All right, so now moving on to social media, okay? The only 2 platforms you're really going to be posting on is Instagram and Facebook. You know, the rest of them aren't too significant except for one, which is YouTube. You know, it's a good place to post shorts. YouTube is also a Google partner, so it does help with your ranking, but we'll cover that in a further episode. For now, we'll just focus on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, so first things first, when it comes to setting up your profiles, you want to have everything included, okay? On Facebook, you have the opportunity to add in your business address, your website, your phone number, pretty much all the contact, basic information about your business. So make sure you add that when you're setting up your Facebook. On Instagram, it is a bit more simple. There's not a whole lot to it, but the must-haves when it comes to Instagram is make sure you have your service area. So of course, you know, the city or town that you service in the bio. And then another big thing, since you can have a direct link in your Instagram profile, make sure you have a link that doesn't go to your website, but goes directly to your booking page, because essentially your Instagram profile should do the talking for you. It should build the trust for you. It should educate all your clients for you. So you don't want to confuse them. You just want to make it as simple as possible, straight to the booking site for Instagram. All right, now when it comes to the actual type of content that you want to be posting on your Instagram, all you want to focus on is creating a story, creating a brand, and creating the most amount of trust possible, okay? And the way you guys are going to do that is by being as transparent as possible. So start documenting from the very beginning. Document you building your detailing setup. Document you going out there and actually getting business, cold approaching people, walking into business, talking to business owners, stuff like that. That real authentic content is exactly what people want to see. And that's the exact type of content that's going to build crazy trust in your market, okay? Because how many people are doing that? No one, okay? Or at least very, very few people, right? When you think of like big detailing content creators, there's not many out there. There's maybe only a dozen, right? And that's the exact type of content they're posting, okay? But when it actually comes to content revolved around detailing cars, it's the same type of premise. We all know what's popping right now in the detailing industry. It's the POV style content with the, you know, creator, the business owner behind the camera, talking about the detail, and most importantly, client interactions, real interactions, you know, when it comes to showing up to the detail, walking the client around the car, talking about the services, and then of course, reactions at the end of the detail is what people really like to see. And then obviously, right, the process as well, what steps you're doing in the detail, the tools you're using, products, you know, that sort of stuff. That's what people love to see. That's the type of content that's properly blowing up right now. But at the same time, make sure you guys are constantly calling out your market. Sure, having your content get a ton of views is good, right? It looks good, but it doesn't mean shit if people in your city, the people who are actually going to buy your services, aren't seeing that. And the way you get local people to actually see your content is by 1, location tagging every single post, 2, using local hashtags. So you could do hashtags like, for me, for example, hashtag Albuquerque detailing, hashtag Albuquerque mobile detailing, you know, simple stuff like that. Of course, make sure you have the name of your city in your bio. And then another thing, make sure you're consistently following people in your market strategically. Don't just follow anyone. Don't follow any random people. Don't go crazy. Go to Instagram profiles of high-end restaurants, high-end dealerships, private gyms in your city, stuff like that. And then just go through the following and, you know, maybe follow a dozen people a day. Don't go crazy, right? Don't get yourself shadow banned by following a shit ton of people like I did. And the reason that works is because if you're on your personal profile on Instagram and someone follows you that you don't know, what's the first thing you do, right? You go and check out that Instagram account. So if you follow people and they go check out your Instagram page and it's just filled with high quality content, you look super established, that's going to create curiosity, and these people are going to want to look more into what you're doing, especially if they see that you're in the same city as them. So guys, organic marketing for detailing is a simple game, okay? Now, let me get this straight. Simple does not mean easy, okay? There's a big difference. It's just a simple process, a simple system that you have to do consistently, not just for a week, not just for 2 weeks, not just for a month, but for months on ends, for years on end, to really build something big, trustworthy, and a brand that people are gonna wanna buy from, okay? So now you guys know everything when it comes to marketing a detailing business without ads, okay? There's no excuses. Now you guys know exactly what to do when it comes to in-person marketing, all those underrated online communities that no one talks about, and then you got the complete game when it comes to social media, and now you got the game for social media, right? Building a brand and content that's actually gonna get you booked and get you seen by people in your market, not just globally, right? Views that aren't going to mean anything. Yeah, this content is honestly too valuable. I don't know if I should continue making these videos. Just kidding. Of course, I'm always going to make these videos to help you guys out because yeah, this is just what I love doing. I want every single new detailer, experienced detailer just to be out there winning, making as much money as possible. I'm sure if you're watching this, you kind of have a good idea for what I've done with my business and what I'm doing now. So if you guys want to see, what it would look like to work with me one-on-one, I fucking hate saying that. I hate being the typical detail guru, but it's just something we offer for those guys who really want to take it up, to the next level and really get that personal, in-depth one-on-one work. If you guys want to learn more about that, just DM me on Instagram. I'd be more than happy to help, talk about it, chat. But if not, just continue soaking up as much value from this YouTube channel. And then of course, all the content I post on Instagram, because it's all here. I give it to you flat out. Everything that I've learned from building my business for a few years now, and what I'm learning, now to this day, because everything I learned, guess what? You guys get to learn it as well through the content I post. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And in the next video, we're going to be covering everything about sales, how to quote certain services, how to close over the phone, certain texts and phone call scripts, all that sort of stuff. So how to sell each and every one of your services, whether it's low ticket, your base packages, all the way up to your highest packages, paint correction, ceramic coatings, stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that because I cannot stress how important the skills of sales is when you're building any business. So we'll see you guys in the next one.